Welcome back. We move on to our next question to the President. The question comes from Mr. Alfred Mpontshane of the Inkatha Freedom Party and deals with the government's interventions in the Eastern Cape and Limpopo provinces. He asks what progress had been made in terms of Section 100, subsection 1 and subsection B of the Constitution. President Zuma said Limpopo's 2 billion rand shortfall had been turned around to a positive year-end balance of 231.4 million rands. This positive cash position is due to cash management controls that were put in place since December 2011.
While the cash position has improved and payment and procurement systems in departments have stabilized, further work still needs to be done. The Provincial Treasurer Intervention Team has instructed all departments to develop a fiscal recovery plan that must include strengthening departmental budget formulation processes and supply chain management. Law enforcement agencies are looking into allegations of fraud, maladministration, and corruption in a number of departments. Work is ongoing to improve service in all the affected governments, including health, education, roads, and transport.
With regard to the intervention into the Eastern Cape's Education Department, the President said legal advice had been required when it became clear that an intervention could be faced with challenges, which subsequently had emerged. A presidential task team, which included 5 MECs from the Eastern Cape, recommended that the Eastern Cape should implement the intervention, while national government will monitor, oversee and evaluate the implementation of the intervention. This had taken place and there was now a clear understanding of the process.
We are confident that this time around we will be able to stabilize and normalize the Eastern Cape Education Department while ensuring that the right of the children of the Eastern Cape to qualify basic education is upheld at all times. Currently, there is no national legislation regulating interventions in terms of Section 100. Government has introduced the Monitoring Support and Intervention Bill to fill this gap and to regulate interventions in terms of Section 100, as well as all interventions in terms of Section 139 of the Constitution.
Alfred Mpontshane of the IFP, who posed the question, had a supplementary question. He referred the President to a statement made by the IFP leader Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi that the Zuma government's failures were also his failures. On that basis, the IFP supported the government's focus on the 3 T's of education, namely teachers, textbooks and time. But Mr. Mpontshane added that the government was still failing on all 3 of these spheres.
We are halfway through the year and most schools in these provinces do not have textbooks. In spite of the task team that have been operating in these provinces, what other steps, Honourable President, are being taken to ensure that the Eastern Cape and Limpopo provincial leadership do not rely on Section 101B of the Constitution to be rescued from possible future financial, health and educational mismanagement? I thank you.
I've just stated that we have taken measures since we applied Section 100. First, we had the team of ministers and we indicated that we realized that there were no clear regulations how it is implemented in practice, concretely. We then had to work out how do you deal with this issue? How to close the gap? And we had to discuss between the province and the national. And I've said we have since sent a team of deputy ministers to check how is it going. But we've also said we are even making a law to help deal with this gap. But we now have the plan in place and the work is continuing in the Eastern Cape. Those are measures that we are undertaking as a result of the practical challenges that we faced, having applied it. As I say, you couldn't come and say, this is how you do it, because there were no regulations. You needed regulations, and those regulations are being worked on, and we are trying to make them very legal by introducing a law that is going to deal with that one, so that in future we don't have such problems. So those measures are being undertaken.
There were more questions, and we pick up on the question of opposition leader Lindwe Mazibuko, who said learners are now being denied an education because of a corrupt government in Limpopo. The same applies to patients in hospitals.
The province of Limpopo finds itself in a dire situation. It's now May, 5 months into the school year, and school textbooks have yet to be delivered to schools up and down the province. Learners are being denied their constitutional right to an education by a corrupt and a broken provincial government. There are hospitals in the province that have no soap, no gloves, no cleaning material. Hospitals where women have to give birth in dirty beds. There isn't enough food for patients. There aren't enough nurses to service the hundreds and hundreds of patients who stream into the hospital doors on a daily basis. Again, the people of the province are being failed by an administration that is corrupt and that is broken. Mr. Speaker, it's clear for all of South Africa to see that Limpopo is now a failed province, failed by an ineffective government and failed by a weak premier. I'm going to ask the President, Mr. Speaker, to answer a straight question with a straight answer. Does he agree that the time has come for the fiddling while Rome is burning to come to an end, and for the Premier of Limpopo, Mr. Kasel Matale, to do the right thing and resign?
The honorable member wants a straight answer when he's asking a question roundabout ways. He's not asking a straight question because he made a long statement first. But nevertheless, what I've said in the response of the question, the very fact that we applied Section 100(1)(b) is because there were difficulties and problems in Limpopo province. That's a reason why we had to act and intervene. We are intervening to address the problems, and I've said we are already seeing the turnaround in terms of the cash flow in that province. I also said investigation by the law enforcement agencies are ongoing. And it is only when you have discovered the wrongdoing that you act.
Order, honorable members, order.
And those reports are going to come, and those reports will determine what happens to the Premier. Will determine what happens to the Premier. You are talking as if nothing is being done. And I'm saying investigation is ongoing whilst we are addressing the question of the service delivery. And once investigation, I can't understand that you order investigation and you act against people that are supposed to be looked at when you have not got your results of the investigation.
Honorable members, order.
That's why we had to act, because we could see. That's the reason. Now we are dealing with the issues, which will include the Premier, because we are investigating the entire province. I don't think you could say we are fair if there are allegations that are being made. Whilst we are investigating, you then make a verdict. I don't think it's right. I don't think that is part of what democracy operates. You have processes that must go and make conclusions and findings and determinations. Then you have a report that says to you, you must now act. And the process is on. The progress is being made. That's what is happening.
We go to member statements after the break. Stay with us.